Hello and welcome to CNR Extra on Citi TV. My name is Akufo-Addo. Coming up. Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah confirms illegal mining queen Aisha Huang was repatriated and not deported in 2018 following President Akufo-Addo's doubt of her deportation.
I'm not still sure whether she was in fact deported or whether she fled the country the first time.
The instrument that the Ghana Immigration Service used, what the Comptroller General used, was a repatriation notice or a repatriation order, in which case, then she will literally, more or less, once she served that notice and is put aboard an aircraft, then she would have to exit into her own jurisdiction.
Also coming up, Electricity Company of Ghana disconnects transmission station of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation over 2 million Ghana cedis debt.
Is owing the Electricity Company of Ghana to the tune of 8.7 million. And the breakdown is that their headquarters at Handa is owing us 6.1 million, and their transmission station is also owing us 2.6 million.
Still ahead, minority in Parliament warns the Communications Ministry and the National Communications Authority against the implementation of restrictions on telephony services with unregistered SIMs.
That registration, re-registration, then we end up with a blockade. They are simply punishing Ghanaians over their own failures and inability.
And later, court finds 7 persons caught for various traffic violations during Citi TV's War Against Indiscipline campaign.
And the judge also bemoaned the fact that this is becoming too much on our roads. So normally when a judge mentions that, it means that he's looking at deterrence, at the fact that others need to stop using the sirens unnecessarily.
We'll go straight into our stories for today, but before that, we'd like to remind you that the show is interactive, and so do send us your thoughts and your comments via the WhatsApp number 0550585832. You can also join the Facebook feed, which is live on Citi TV GH. In studio with me is Jude Mensah Duncan. Good morning, Jude.
Good morning, Akufo.
Great to have you.
Same here.
You're beaming with smiles.
I mean, it's a brand new day, so you have to also...
Right.
Yeah.
All right, let's get straight into our stories. And President Akufo-Addo has cast doubt over the deportation of Chinese Galamsey Queen Aisha Huang.
President Akufo-Addo says he is in doubt whether Chinese Galamsey operator Aisha Huang was deported from Ghana in 2018, as he has no confirmation on the actions taken by state actors.
Northern Member of Parliament Sam Okudzeto-Ablakwa, in wake of the return of the Galamsey Queen, has alleged that relevant authorities did not follow due processes relating to her deportation to enable their Chinese counterparts track her.
Now, speaking on Stone City FM, the president, who expressed uncertainty about the action taken by his appointees, assured of commitment to prosecute the illegal miner following her rearrest.
When you have a situation like this woman who was, I'm not still sure whether she was in fact deported or whether she fled the country the first time and has now come back. But whatever, there still seems to be some uncertainty about it. But whichever way it is, she has become the sort of nickname for all that the Galamsey represents. And unfortunately, also for the involvement of Chinese nationals in Ghana in this particular illicit trade. We have constantly to work at it. We need to have the cooperation of the courts. Until recently, till I came, the punishment for people caught was relatively light, a fine, and even if we're going to go to custodial sentences was relatively minimal. We've changed the law to stiffen the punishments for people caught. For foreigners, I think it's now 15 to 25 years, depending on the severity of what it is. So we're also now going to test our judicial system, to what extent it is going to be responsive, especially when somebody like her goes on to trial. But I'm persuaded that the fight is in the right place. it's not an easy fight. You can see the last election, the concerted efforts that the Galamsey community made to try and turn us out of office because of our fight. Fortunately, the good people of Ghana.
Well, the update on this is that today the Accra Circuit Court 9 is where Aisha Huang is expected to reappear. Recall that she's standing trial along with 3 other Chinese nationals for offences related to illegal mining and the sale and purchase of minerals without valid licensing. But the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, says he's not sure whether in 2018 Aisha Huang was deported from Ghana or she fled the country. Same person that told us that on hindsight, deportation of Aisha Huang was a mistake.
So on what authority was he speaking on in 2019? I mean, quite frankly, it's been quite disappointing listening to the president speak on this matter yesterday. First, it was uncertainty about how she arrived into the country, and now it's uncertainty about whether or not she was even deported or fled. And for me, that is where the bigger question even lies. Because if we are saying now that there's a possibility of she even fleeing the country, then I think it's a far more serious.
That's how come I addressed him as the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces.
It's a far more serious problem, if you ask me, because then it means that to a large extent our territorial integrity as a country has been quite significantly compromised, and that means that we need to start taking some really drastic measures. I mean, it's happened in this government before, where a whole cabinet minister was allowed or forced to resign, or let me say pushed out of government for misleading the president at the time, and I'm referring to Mr. Boache Jako, sometime early in the
as
first
energy
term,
minister.
as energy minister. So if he was allowed to go as minister, why are we not seeing her roll for?
I mean, as president, if you are uncertain whether she was deported or she fled, whoever briefed you at the time, why is this person still at post?
So for me, it gives them indication that we've probably not taken this fight against illegal mining quite seriously from the top. And for me, how we don't even see Galamsey as an existential threat in 2022, for me, is even beyond me. Like we've been saying, we've seen lead researchers and experts say that in the coming years, we'll have serious water problem, water crisis, if we don't take measures to improve the current state of our water bodies as a result of the negative effects of illegal mining. So it's sad that it's gotten to this point. And for me, like I'm saying, the next clear step is that we see some decisive action coming from the presidency. Some heads should roll with regards to how she got into the country and the seeming uncertainty about her deportation. I mean, heads should clearly roll in that regard.
I mean, on Monday, during the opening of the bar conference, he made a fine statement, throwing his weight behind the decision by the AG to fully prosecute Aisha Huang.
We heard that.
And then we wake up and he's not sure whether she was deported or not. But you see, one person who perhaps has been the most busiest ever since yesterday is the Minister for Information, Kojo Oppong Nkrumah. He has been giving some explanation in defense of what the president said.
President John Dramani Mahama is calling for sanctions against government officials involved in the return of Galamsey Queen Aisha Huang.
Apologies for that wrong insert, but we'll want to hear from Kojo Oppong Nkrumah and what he has been saying in defense of what the comments the president made with respect to the deportation or otherwise of Aisha Huang.
Kojo Oppong Nkrumah has clarified that the state rather revoked Aisha Huang's residence permit and subsequently repatriated her according to respective laws.
Often when people are deported, it is by compulsion, it's by the order of a court or by the Minister for the Interior. Very often, these people are in handcuffs, are put on an aircraft, sometimes cuffed to the aircraft, handed over to the security agencies in the other country. Now, in this instance, you will find from the records that are available to the president and to all of us, you will find that the instrument that the Ghana Immigration Service used, what the Comptroller General used, was a repatriation notice or a repatriation order, in which case, then she will literally, more or less, once she served that notice and is put aboard an aircraft, then she would have to exit into her own jurisdiction.
Okay.
I think that is the difference between the two. But I think that the facts as have been availed to us and to the president are quite clear. She was repatriated from the Ghanaian jurisdiction. The repatriation order.
Could you upon Chroma, Minister for Information, MP for Fwasia UAB, did you just not just find out the meaning of repatriation and deportation? Did the same words not exist in 2018 and onwards, when deportation was the only word that was swung about every time the name Aisha Huang was mentioned?
I think he has probably the most difficult job in the world.
I don't envy him at all.
When you have to, in just about 24 hours, just think about a defense of something that is quite indefensible, if you ask me my opinion. I mean, Nana, if you go back to listen to the president's full address or his comments on the whole illegal mining situation, I mean, everything he had to say about it, he sought to also give out some government high or achievement in that area, and you, even if you listen to those he touts at, or some of the things he touts as achievements, you get the impression that the fight against illegal mining is not even going anywhere anytime soon. For example, he lists what he calls a heightened consciousness really against the fight of illegal mining, and I'm asking myself, these are things we learn in primary 4 really about the negative effects of galamsey. So for the president to say that is an achievement, his government has choked in the fight against illegal mining, clearly tells you the state of affairs with regards to this menace. Go back to Upon Nkrumah, that's the information minister's defense yesterday, and he sought to say it's a figure of speech. When the president...
What is a figure of speech? A word or a phrase that possesses a different meaning from its literal meaning. So he's trying to say to us that the president knew that Aisha was deported or repatriated and came to tell us that he's not sure. Is that what Kojo is saying?
The truth of the matter is that it's a very difficult thing to defend. And the minister, knowing very well, a former media man, he had to come up with something at all costs because he's paid to do that.
And so, figure of speech was the best comeback, the best defense.
That is what you are saying. The fight against illegal mining is being lost. So you can't really defend some of these states. But he also goes on to talk about the fact that the presidency or this administration has reviewed the Mining Act 703, which now sought to give some stiffer punishment to people found doing these things. So that's fair enough. It's already happened. It's been behind us. She compromised our territorial integrity, came into the country. Now we have a chance again to make sure that the law works, and we'll be following keenly. We'll be going to the courts today. Our cameras will be there. We'll be following through this to make sure that a logical conclusion is being drawn. I mean, it's happening in Tanzania.
You know why I'm saddened? This is the president who reviewed the laws to give stiffer punishments for people found engaging in activities relating to illegal mining. So for him to be goofing so much about this, I don't know.
And I feel like his technical handlers to have sort of let him down. I mean, what sort of briefing did they give the president going into such high-level conversation, especially when it becomes such topical and it has a lot of national interest as such? So it's sad. Or then again, maybe it gives the indication that you're really not taking the fight against illegal mining seriously, because I don't think the president would attach the same seriousness going to speak about any other thing, be it IMF or be it the economy. So why is he not attaching the same urgency or seriousness in conversations around illegal mining? I mean, we've said it. We all know what government should do. Former President Mahama has been saying it, that if you look at some of these machines they use for illegal mining, it's not like you can put it in a handbag or you can put it in some pocket somewhere. It's just like I've been
saying always, Kojo Menu from Bompata has no money to buy an excavator.
Exactly. So we should really be going after the big guns. We should be going after people who we know are openly involved in this.
It's interesting you mentioned former President Mahama. Well, he is calling on the president, Akufo-Addo, to resign based on his own words with respect to the fight against illegal mining. He thinks the president has failed.
And John Dramani Mahama is calling for sanctions against government officials involved in the return of Galamsey Queen Pin Aisha Huang, speaking on Accra-based TV3, former President Mahama indicated that he expected President Akufo-Addo to resign based on his track record in the fight against illegal mining.
Indeed, if we were in some other jurisdiction, he would have resigned by now. By his word, he put his presidency on the line. Because now his own people have been found to be the executives, have, concessions and are doing illegal mining in forest reserves. It's a pity. But it's close to home, and that's why he can't deal with it. If you go to the districts, they talk about community mining. Community mining is the MPP party executives and the DCAs who are doing the community mining. And so they are the ones doing what they're doing. And so how can you expect him to fight, Galamsey, when his own people are involved in it?
Yeah, the president lacks the political will to do this.
He does. He does. It makes very nice, verbiage when you talk about it and you express a will to do something well. Action speaks louder than words. Our river bodies are still the coffee color that they were.
At this point, it's like the Nana Akufo-Addo-led administration is giving the Mahama-led opposition too much ammunition, too much arsenal. And you see, previously when you hear such shots being fired, you are able to sit down and break it into the two sides and make a proper analysis. But now you are tempted to side with John Mahama when he makes such calls. Yeah. Because, based on Akufo-Addo's own words, he said he will put his presidency on the line.
Yeah. I think it's a clear case of just saying the right things when you're opposition. Our president is a lawyer. He's a very learned person. I'm sure he definitely knows the serious implications of illegal mining. Yeah. Take him out of the presidency, put him somewhere else. I'm sure he'll be speaking quite eloquently and quite seriously about the negative effects of illegal mining. So it's like Mahama was saying, it's just a case about probably the people being involved too close, maybe to being too close to power, hence the inability of governments to go directly after them.
But that is not right.
Because then it doesn't make any sense again why we can't really fight this menace. So, like I'm saying, you expect the opposition to say all the right things in some of these instances. Everybody knows that the dire effects of illegal mining on even our being, like I said earlier, it's clearly an existential threat. So we have to take it seriously. And listening to Mahama say some of these things is quite reassuring, and hopefully government takes it up from there.
All right, you see that there's a bigger problem we are failing to look at. You see, we've politicized this thing so much, and we've restricted or limited it to illegal mining. Yeah. There are companies that are mining legally, but are they doing it in a sustainable way? Are they doing it in a way that protects the environment that they mine in? Are we getting value for money with regards to all the concessions we have given out? You see, these are some of the conversations we should be having. But because of the politicization and the kind of traffic we have given to illegal mining, everyone else is looking at that only, forgetting about those doing legal mining and their contribution also to the destruction of the environment.
It's true. There's a whole process you have to go through, reclamation.
Exactly.
You have to make sure you meet all of those sustainability efforts, and the miners will tell you. I agree with you to a large extent, and I think for that reason, that's how come something like the Mining Act, the Minerals and Mining Act of 703 came into being, to address some of all of these loopholes in our law, where some of these mining companies, especially the foreign one, take advantage of us. But illegal mining has become more pronounced because its consequences appear to be more dire on us as humans, really, because look at the state of our water bodies. Yeah. We understand cocoa farms are being destroyed. The ripple effect is probably more serious than we can even imagine.
But are those in authority taking it as seriously as we are looking at it? Because from what I said, it looks like just political currency.
The president doesn't even know whether or not a Galamsey queen, for that matter, was deported. So, I think it answers that. I don't think we've taken it quite seriously.
Let's move on to something else. Let's move on to another story. Akufo-Addo, a.k.a. Odike, who, of course, made the news some weeks back owing to something he said linking some chiefs in the Ashanti region to the same illegal mining menace. Well, he insists that he stands by his word.
The founder and leader of the United Progressive Party, Akufo-Addo, popularly known as Odike, says he still stands by comments he made on Kumasi-based Oyerepa FM, accusing chiefs in the Ashanti region of being complicit in the illegal mining menace. He believes his comments are factual and has challenged the chiefs to prove him wrong if that is not the case. He also, in an interview with Citi News, apologized to the Asantehene Otumfuo-Setu II, expressing his willingness to appear before the Asantehene to help resolve the matter amicably once the king returns to Ghana.
Akufo-Addo, also known as Odike, incurred the wrath of the Kumasi Traditional Council after he accused chiefs in the Ashanti region of being involved in illegal mining activities in the region. Contributing to a discussion on Kumasi-based Oyerepa FM, he sought to suggest that illegal mining, popularly known as galamsey, is getting out of hand because some chiefs are encouraging the practice. The Kumasi Traditional Council, led by its acting president, Bant Mahini, Bafo Usua Saraman Kwetia VI, described the utterance as uncalled for and disrespectful of the Menshia Palace. The chiefs also accused him of threatening to incite the youth to rise against them if they fail to play their respective roles in controlling the galamsey menace. He was banished from the Menshia Palace and his hometown following the comments. Subsequently, the Kumasi Traditional Council asked the management of Oyerepa FM to temporarily halt operations for some days to indicate that the station was remorseful, notwithstanding the fact that the managers of the station appeared before the council to render an apology. The station was a few days later asked to go ahead and operate after the Kumasi Traditional Council accepted the apology. All this while, Akufo-Addo was yet to apologize over the comments. In an interview with Citi News, he stressed that he does not see anything untoward with the comments he made, but that he apologizes and retracts if the said comments have affected Asantehene and the Menshia Palace negatively.
The position is very clear. We only beg when we accept our mistakes. But as it stands now, I don't know myself where I went wrong. So instead for the traditional authorities to summon me before them and pinpoint where they thought my presentation wasn't right or hurts them, they should have drawn my attention as traditional and cultural norms demands. In Ashantis, you cannot listen to one side of a story and pass a judgment, just like natural justice. We believe in that. So in whatever happens, you summon the person, then you pinpoint where he went wrong. Otumfuo wasn't around when this happened. So I was retracting any section of the statement I made which might have caused disaffection to Otumfuo. I retract that portion.
He added that he is willing to appear before the Asantehene to help resolve the matter amicably once the king returns to Ghana.
They have banished me. So what it means is that I don't have anything to do with them now. Because until they go back and do another rituals to pacify the gods so that I can come back to them, Otumfuo is not around. I sincerely believe as soon as he comes back, this matter will be settled amicably.
Following the attack on him by unknown persons shortly after making the comments, Akufo-Addo, also known as Odike, says he's disappointed in the manner in which the police are handling the investigations.
But just when we thought this matter had gone to rest, Odike is back and he's still, going on at it and still insisting that he stands by his words. But there's a key saying that says that the party anyways, that's on a lighter side. But yeah, clearly, this is an issue that really brings to the fore who really are involved in this illegal mining, who gives who not necessarily a documented permit, but of course some clearance to go mine in a particular area. We know our chiefs are the custodians, and they actually preserve our customs and all that. So clearly, some authorities vested in them when it comes into the areas under which they superintend. But ODK can then also not just make accusations without proof.
Or proof.
You get it?
I mean, you've summarized it quite perfectly, if you ask me, and you've taken some of the words right out of my mouth. I mean, if you look at what happened, really, I think there's been quite a few instances where both stakeholders, or let me say all stakeholders, have acted not too well, if you ask me, because at the end of the day, like you're saying, ODK can't go ahead and make some claims without facts. If you have some of these strong accusations or beliefs, you should be willing to back it up with some sorts of or some level of proof. But you see, there are also people who have opined that if you listen carefully to what ODK said in that interview, there are to a large extent comments that even the Asante in the past has alluded to or even said same. So why then treat him differently? And you see, it's I don't know how to go about it, but let's not create the impression that certain powerful people are not behind Galamsey. And you yourself have been saying it's better than any other person on this platform. That if you look at the ordinary person in some of these communities, they don't have the financial strength to be doing some of these high-level distraction to our water bodies. It is people in high places. It's people in powerful places. So maybe we should all come together, take a deep introspection, really, and look at ways at which we can curb this. But I think at the end of the day, if we do such an introspection, it will be shocking the revelations we'll find. Clearly. I think big people are behind this. As a matter of urgency and principle, really, we should be making sure that we fish some of these people out and make sure that. But I don't really also think that the way ODK, the media war really is the way to go about some of these things. But also the traditional council too. I'm not really sure about their powers to be, for instance, some of the comments they've passed and even the closure of the radio station at the time was even the best way to have gone about it, because there's a constitution that, like you're saying, looks at all of these things or has provisions for some of these instances. So the stakeholders, there was really some question mark. But at the end of the day, it's about the core message you sought to put out.
What is our ultimate goal? And at the end of the day, what are we hoping to achieve? This illegal mining thing really, it looks like an albatross hanging on the neck of government. You see, we are trying to stop something that is costing us, something that is posing a danger to our lives and our livelihoods. But we are investing so much, and the returns minimal or non-existent. What happened to the drones that were purchased? Now we say we've got speedboats. What's Operation Galam Stop? We've had Galam 1, Galam 2, we've had Operation what? I mean, all these are resources that are going in to stop one thing that can be, I mean, we can sit in Accra here and stop it from happening.
I mean, can you imagine what would have happened in 2019 if we had used Aisha Huang as a scapegoat? As a scapegoat, it would have been the most purposeful move than any other intervention, speedboat, whatever. Because when you jail it, then you know that clearly sent a message there. So I think anytime we had the opportunity to make a defining statement or thought on the matter, we missed out on it, and we were sort of looking at the peripherals, and really it doesn't really fix the problem. So now that we've had a second chance, hopefully we don't flub this one too, and we go all out for the kill and make sure that we send a statement with all that is happening in the
the Ghana immigration says that they've repatriated. I want to use their words.
You see, it's the repatriated.
Like semantics, that's what it is.
Deportation, no, it is repatriation. The point is that we don't want such people destroying our water bodies, and we don't want them in the country. If you are saying it has diplomatic implications, fair enough. But if you are sending
John Dramani Mahama deported over 1,000 Chinese nationals. It did not stop the Chinese from dealing with the government of Ghana.
Even Tanzania jailed this foreign national who was illegally mining some of their minerals. As we speak, she's still in jail. So, like, what is
Well, let us know what you think. The WhatsApp number is 0550585832. 0550585832. Stay with us on CNR Extra, still ahead. Minority in Parliament warns the Communications Ministry and the National Communications Authority against the implementation of restrictions on telephony services with unregistered SIM cards. We'll bring you the details shortly. Do stay. Welcome back. Many thanks for choosing CNR Extra. Now, the state broadcaster is in some sort of trouble with the Electricity Company of Ghana over some debts owed the latter.
The Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, has disconnected the transmission station of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, GBC, because of 2 million Ghana cedis owed in unpaid bills. This comes after the head office of the state broadcaster was also disconnected from the national grid over a 6 million Ghana cedi debt on Monday. Citi News' Ni Ayikwe-Okan reports.
On Monday, officials of the Revenue Protection Task Force of the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, disconnected power to the head office of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, GBC, because of an amount of 6 million Ghana cedis owed in unpaid bills. The debt is said to have accrued between 2015 and 2022, and there were very little efforts from GBC to settle them. The ECG says an amount of 100,000 Ghana cedis out of what was owed was paid by the state broadcaster on September 9. On Tuesday, the transmission station of GBC was also disconnected from the national grid over an unpaid bill of 2 million Ghana cedis. The manager of technical investigations of the Revenue Protection Task Force of the ECG, Ishmael Tete Oku, tells Citi News the GBC will have to make a 50% payment of its debt before power will be restored.
GBC is owing the Electricity Company of Ghana to the tune of 8.7 million. And the breakdown is that their headquarters at Handa is owing us 6.1 million, and their transmission station is also owing us 2.6 million. And we need this money to run our business. And so as a result, we have disconnected GBC. GBC, the last time they paid, out of these huge amounts, they paid 100,000 Ghana cedis. And it's insignificant looking at the quantum of their indebtedness. And we are engaging them, and it has not been fruitful when it comes to payment. All we hear from GBC is excuses upon excuses, which is not helping our cause. And if they are able to pay any substantial amount, why not? We'll give them light. In fact, if they give us 50%, we'll be more than glad to give them light. But if they want to depend on the national grid, I'm sorry, they cannot. Yesterday, we disconnected their headquarters, and this morning we have disconnected their transmission station.
The GBC has been running on a generator since Monday following the disconnection of power. Information gathered by Citi News reveals that the current administration of the institution is working assiduously to clear the accumulated debts. However, it has refused to publicly comment on the matter. Reporting from Kanda in Accra, my name is Ni Ayikwe-Okan for Citi News.
It is my expectation and hope that management of the GBC would really meet with the Electricity Company of Ghana and come to some settlement arrangement for power to be restored to the GBC. Because, I mean, the state broadcaster should not be going through some of these things. I'm not sure what the structures for paying bills, if it is hinged on IGFs, internally generated funds, or it is state-sponsored. I'm not sure exactly what it is. But I mean,
for a profit-oriented state agency like the GBC, I think whatever it is, they should have some system in place to come up with paying their own sorts of bills. I don't think putting the burden on government with all that is happening would be the best thing. Probably it's been the convention over the years, but like we are saying now, and you'd want to credit them. We've seen some sort of innovation with some of their programming and some of the things they do in the last couple of months, but there's a lot more to be done. Now, I mean, the bigger conversation has got to do with power theft, power irregularities at the ECG level. I mean, the last time the minister was speaking, the sector minister, Matthew Poku Prempeh, speaking at a press conference on some of the challenges within the sector, some about $400 million is lost to power theft, lost to those who have tempered with their meters, and those who don't even have meters but have electricity. And the federal breakdown, some about 9 million Ghana cedis is owed by some public institutions who have defaulted in paying their bills. So this is clearly not a pleasant story. Look at how much we are looking at getting from the Afri-Exim Bank. That's about $750 million. And you have about $400 million lost to power theft and other irregularities. I mean, with regards to power supply, it's unfortunate, and we expect that all state agencies will lead by example, really, and make sure that they fulfill their part of the bargain, pay their bills, and let's get ECG to become a viable company once more.
Clearly, if we do some proper house cleaning, we may not need to go to the IMF for support.
I mean, I agree with you.
Sika Ukrumu. Well, the minority in parliament is challenging the legality of the sanctions that are supposed to be applied to persons who fail or are unable to register their SIM cards.
The minority in Parliament says the Ministry of Communications and the National Communications Authority has no legal basis to implement the restrictions placed on the use of mobile telephony services by the persons with unregistered SIM cards.
Last week, the NCA authorized mobile network operators to restrict the making of calls from unregistered cards ahead of the September 30th deadline for registration. There has been a shift in the policy directive of the NCA since then.
Now, addressing the press in Parliament, Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu called on the managers of the communications sector to desist from implementing self-serving policies such as the SIM card re-registration exercise.
The minority leader at a press briefing on Tuesday questioned the legality of the actions taken by the NCA and the Ministry of Communications to block the SIM cards of subscribers.
Members of government are not even placing value on its threat to our democracy and endeavoring to emasculate networks to intimidate subscribers whose freedoms are regularly subjected to database manipulations. Instead of promoting the widespread use of communication services, what is obtaining now is an unnecessary request for registration, re-registration, multiple registration of SIMs for contrived reasons. And I emphasize that registration, re-registration, then we end up with a blockade. They are simply punishing Ghanaians over their own failures and inability to synchronize data between the National Identification Authority and mobile operators in Ghana. That punishment on the Ghanaian citizen remains unjustified, and we in the minority will not sit aloof on the matter.
He also lamented the impact of restrictions on access to emergency services.
The Union actually places premium on emergency telecommunications. To completely cut telecom services to subscribers for no other reason than to limit usage by citizens is the lowest point in a nation's telecoms development. Ghana is not the first country to undertake a SIM registration exercise, but Ghana is the only country you are hearing the chaos in the telecom landscape, greeted by their lack of understanding of mobile telephone as an essential emergency tool.
The minority in Parliament, for the second time in less than a week, have reiterated their deep disgust for what they call the illegal activity being perpetrated by the National Communications Authority and the Ministry of Communications in placing restrictions on the usage of SIMs that have not been registered. Reporting for Citi News from Parliament, My name is Chukman Topoku.
Well, per the positioning of the minority, the NCA and the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization stands the risk of not being able to access their budgetary allocations if this should continue. But my challenge really has to do with the data synchronization. I mean, there's SNITS, there's NHIA, there's the NIA that holds our data now, and then there's the mobile network operators, the MNOs on one side. How is it that it becomes difficult for us to synchronize this? All these beneficiaries of this data, users of this data, right, are able to access the data from the NIA.
I mean, let's not get it wrong. I think the original motive behind the re-registration of the SIM cards was in itself a laudable move, but it has largely got to do with its implementation. That is where the challenge really has been, and you get a lot of CSOs come out to speak quite loudly on it. And for me, a government that has been quite hard on digitalization and digitization, as they put it, to sort of limit the use of some of these communication devices because of unregistered SIM cards, for me is the height, or is the least you can really do in a situation like that. So it is unfortunate that we've gotten to this point as a country. I've been saying that, see, if you look at some of the reasons why government is going on such a tangent, really, it's because of reasons that probably has got nothing to do with the use of or the blocking of this. There are reasons, let me say, there are reasons that has got nothing to do with the original motive, and that is where the challenge really lies. So we need to go back to the conversation again. I've been saying that if you look at some of the challenges that you face in the communications ministry, for example, there are so many things we should be doing correctly, and we've not been getting it right for the past couple of months. So that is a challenge. But like I'm saying, the most important thing, let's look at it, is we should prepare for the long haul, because at the end of the day, the concerns a lot of these CSOs are raising are not being addressed, and for people who have registered their SIM cards and are still getting their numbers blocked, and people who have not registered their SIM cards are rather being able to make calls and all of that. So it doesn't look like a properly harmonious system being put in place, and the chaos we are seeing now will probably be more when the deadline reaches. So I don't think we've gotten it right, honestly, if we want to be honest with ourselves. And like we are saying, the ministry, the NCA, the NIA, all of those stakeholders need to go back to the drawing board again. And we understand that there are some friction really at management level between the NCA and the NIA. They've not alluded to it, but from some media comments in the past, you get some of those impressions. So let's go back to the drawing board. Let's iron out the differences. Let's look at ways we can make this much more viable. But I don't think its current approach is the best way to go. Even now, there are concerns by some members of the public that the app is not really as functional as the NCA has said. So it's sad, and it's quite unfortunate that all of these things are happening now. We should go back to the drawing board, make sure that we have some proper system in place to be able to check some of these things.
All right, let us know what you also think about these stories and the rest that we will be bringing you. 0550-585832 is the WhatsApp number. Now, there are 46 teacher training colleges across the country. Tutors on all these 46 campuses have proceeded on leave. Well, they were supposed to meet their principals yesterday, but that meeting ended inconclusively.
The meeting between the Conference of Principals of Colleges of Education and the Colleges of Education Teachers Association on the mass leave by college teachers in 46 campuses nationwide has ended inconclusive. There is more in the following report.
The quest by the Conference of Principals of Colleges of Education to persuade teachers in 46 colleges across the country to call off their mass leave has not yielded any result. The teachers have been on leave for 13 days now, and Principals of Colleges of Education, PRINCOF, has been kicking against the decision. They say that the decision was taken without their approval, and the action of the teachers will have rippling effect on trainee teachers. The national president of CTAG, Prince Obinhima, spoke to Citi News on the outcome of a long meeting with the leadership of PRINCOF.
Yeah, we had over 4 hours conversation on the matter, and I must say that we've started some conversation. We've decided in principle. The fair wages was there, the PRINCOF leadership with the CTAG were also around. It's inconclusive though, and then we are consulting further, and then we'll re-engage on Thursday. So within the 48 hours, we've agreed that the discussions we've had should remain between the two parties. We do not want to break that agreement. Yeah, so we would not be able to divulge the conversation we had seriously.
He also justified the move by the teachers to go on their annual leave.
When you engage people to work, no law of the land will permit you to keep people at work for the whole year without any form of a break. Ordinarily, at the end of every semester, tutors have to undergo mandatory leave so that we enjoy ourselves, we have some holidays, take the pressure off and then come back much more renewed and energized to be able to work. Per the new arrangements we have in the new semester program, we start from January and end in December. It means the tutors were not going to have any form of this term. So realizing that we had missed the first one and it was going to continue. Wow, these are people getting to their 60s, people are retiring. Can you look into their faces and tell them to work throughout the year? As a union, we have that unionized responsibility enshrined in even Ghana's 1990.
I don't know if the union is just not wanting to use the word strike for using them back on a leave en masse.
I mean, if you go on strike, you probably forfeit part of your salary. Yeah. If it's on leave, I'm sure they'll still have to pay your salary. So I think maybe they are being smart about it.
Yeah, but it's an employee that grants leave, not a union.
Not a union. I mean, that's a fair point. If you look at or you listen to some of the concerns raised by CTAG and some of the things some of their members have said, you get the impression that their conditions of service really as a teacher group is nothing to write home about, reason for which they are making some of these demands. So it's not a pleasant thing when teachers are on strike because the ripple effects are quite dire on the students and the school and even the whole community. Exactly. So we want to plead with them that both PRINCOF and CTAG will find some amicable solution in the coming days so teaching and learning can resume as earnestly as possible.
Right, we've heard the students, make an appeal, a passionate appeal to their teachers to return, but in the same breath, they are calling on relevant authorities to intervene because they actually have final year students who will be graduating in about 4 months' time.
Yeah.
And that's quite serious. Anyways, stay with us here on CNR Extra. There's more to come, including court finds 7 persons caught for various traffic violations during Citi TV's War Against Indiscipline campaign. We'll be right back with the details. Welcome back. You're watching CNR Extra on Citi TV. Now, the War Against Indiscipline campaign is back. This is in partnership with the Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service. Already, some 7 persons have been fined for various traffic offences.
The La Magistrate Court has fined 7 persons who were caught during Citi TV's War Against Indiscipline campaign on Monday. These persons were arrested by the Airport Police Motor Traffic and Transport Directorate for violating various road traffic regulations. There is more in this report.
After their arrest on Monday at the airport bypass and on the motorway for various road infractions like driving on the shoulders of the road, driving in the middle of the road, and making unlawful U-turns on the motorway among others, they were processed and brought to the court for prosecution. Out of the 9 arrested offenders, 7 appeared before the court and pleaded guilty to all charges leveled against them. Those who were caught driving in the middle of the road were fined 2,160 Ghana cedis, while those caught driving on the shoulders of the road were fined 1,800 Ghana cedis. Those who made unlawful U-turns on the motorway were fined 2,400 Ghana cedis. However, 2 persons refused to appear before the court and a bench warrant was issued for their arrest. An expatriate who was detained by the Airport Police Motor Traffic and Transport Directorate for using an Office of the President sticker without authorization and driving with a siren and a strobe light while following an ambulance to maneuver through traffic on the airport bypass was also put in court, where he pleaded guilty. He was charged with driving on the wrong side of the road and using sirens without permission after the police MTTD gave him a chase when he failed to stop during Citi TV's War Against the Discipline campaign. His lawyer said his client will comply with the court's directives to remove the strobe light and siren since he is not authorized to use it.
Basically, he was in breach of what we call motorable offences, and of course, the police had every right to arrest him and then arrange him before court. So that is what they did today. And the police were very, very careful to respect his rights as a human being and then not keep him for more than 48 hours. So that's why they brought him here expeditiously. Yeah. So over here, in order not to waste the court's time and resources, he pleaded guilty to all the offences. And then that gives the lawyer the backbone to do a very good mitigation with respect to the offences. And then all of the offences, all the motorable offences are punishable by fine, by sentencing.
Right, so the campaign is back. 7 persons have been fined. That was from the exercise on Monday. Now, on Tuesday, some 24 vehicles were impounded. That's from the East Legon underbridge to the Tema-Accra motorway. So, I mean, the campaign is back. Yesterday evening, actually, the campaign was along the Gimpa-Legon bypass, and clearly some persons were also found foul of the law.
I mean, it's a laudable idea. I mean, it's one of the best interventions to curb indiscipline on our roads I've seen in a very long time, and we want to commend both management here and, of course, the police for making sure that this comes to stay. And I really hope that we can move it to the next level to ensure that our roads are safer. But now watching this video really intrigued me a lot, because listening to the stories, I mean, it's quite shocking for me. One instance where someone with the use of the presidential sticker. I mean, I'm alarmed, really. I watched the bulletin yesterday and I was like, how is this not a serious issue up until now? Why is the presidency or even the communications directorate not explaining why some of these things are happening? And apparently it's a new craze in town. So some people were discussing it on social media, where almost every other vehicle has. I think we need to set the guidelines straight.
The value has fallen. That's all.
We need to go back and set the guidelines. Who can really use this? Under what circumstances are we going to use this? Is it for particular state-owned cars, or is for just staffers of the president? Because we need to have a conversation again. And now that he had a sticker, he also added
the strobe lights,
the strobe lights and the siren. I mean, what are we becoming in this country, really? So you see, we don't want to cheapen some of our institutions. And when you do this, this is how you cheapen some of our state institutions. So we need some sort of decisive action. I mean, we should punish the offender for the road breaches, the traffic road regulation breaches. But we need to also
investigate the acquisition of the sticker of the office of the president.
I think we need to go back. It's imperative we go back and make sure that it doesn't become the norm where people can just get presidential stickers on their vehicles and misbehave.
Do we even know if it's from the presidency or he just printed it?
That is why the presidency needs to take it up. And I expect Mr. Eugene Ahin and his deputies, whichever of them, should come out publicly and explain really what's the guideline. I'm sure it's probably done in the past, but now that there are concerns about its abuse again, I think it's imperative that we bring up the conversation.
We are not even sure if a Chinese Galamsey queen was deported or not. Do you think we'll be interested in some foreign national using our sticker?
We should be, actually. We should be. We should be. We really should be.
Anyways, many thanks for your time this morning, Jude Mensah Duncan is with us here at Citi TV and Citi FM. It's always a pleasure having you. Right. My name is Akufo-Addo. Many thanks to you for watching. This has been our show, CNR Extra, right here on Citi TV. We'll see you again.